guys. So when I moved here, you guys had a desire. Thank you. You guys had a desire right from the beginning. Father, you in Rome, we would love to go to Rome. So in 2016, as part of our 45th anniversary, we went to Rome. It was 40 of us. We had a great time. We had a personal encounter with our Holy Father. And afterwards, we got home, and you guys go, well, why don't we go to the old country? And my wife goes, you know, you would do better as an agency, you know, as especially with the college bills coming in now. So I started working on that. Immediately after our Rome pilgrimage, I was in Prešov, and I was walking down the street where our bus would park when we were at the hotel there. I saw an agency there, a tourist agency. So I walked in to one agency, and I just was asking about the trips they do. And at the first one, they were kind of not that nice to me. And I spoke Slovak, they didn't know who I was. Then I went to a second agency, and it was okay. But when I went to the third agency, that's where things got better. And that's where they were nice to me, they sat down. So I thanked them, and then a week later I called them from Pittsburgh. And I go, you remember that guy who was talking about that trip to Croatia? I said, I'm actually a priest serving in the United States, and I want to talk to you guys about serious business. So that's how all this came about. That luckily, you don't have to work with a third party to go on a trip with Father Val. So I work directly with the people overseas. So we're going to start our pilgrimage to the old country. Here's our group, 40 of us. 40 of us. The number 40, as you know in Holy Scripture, is a number of perfection. So here's that perfect group. So we got together at the Pittsburgh airport. I was very proud of you guys. I showed up, you were already there, ready to go. We got on the plane from Pittsburgh to Paris. In Paris, we had some time to have breakfast, or like Father Val, to have a glass of champagne. You're in Paris, come on. And then move on to Prague. Prague, thank you, Emily. Next slide. Prague, as you can see, the historical center with the castle, the presidential palace, St. Vitus Cathedral. Prague is a beautiful, beautiful city. I'm actually, you know, Katya and I, we love Prague more now than we love Rome, actually. It's the capital and largest city in the Czech Republic, the 14th largest city in the European Union, that historical capital of Bohemia. And what's beautiful about Prague is that, luckily, it was not destroyed during the Second World War. This is the Vltava River, and on our trip, as we were there, we had a luncheon on a boat, on a cruise boat. We went up and down the Vltava River. We had some Becherovka there. That's the local liquor. And the city itself is 1.3 million people live in Prague. Beautiful city. But now I invite Eugene and Bernadette to please come up and to tell us 3 minutes to tell us about their experience in Prague. Okay, so 3 minutes so we can keep going.
Thank you, Father. I allot my time to Bernadette.
He has no cards. He'd be so prepared.
First of all, I want to thank Father because he put a lot of work into this, and it truly was a lifetime experience. So thank you, Father. I think one of the things that, he asked us what we were surprised about, and I think one of the things we really were surprised about was the lack of faith in Czech Republic and Prague. anywhere from, they say 70 to 90% are non-believers. They're atheists. Maybe 3 or 2% actually go to church. So I was surprised about that because that's the total opposite of Slovakia. So what they have is a lot of beautiful churches that are empty, and they don't know really what to do with them, and so they converted them into concert halls. And one afternoon, Bernadette and I had some free time.
We have 5 minutes.
It was a busy schedule.
Might have been 6.
It truly was a busy schedule on your father. You had to be in good shape. But so they converted these old churches, beautiful churches, into concert halls. And Bernadette and I attended a service where they.
It was like a classical concert. It was beautiful.
It was. We listened to Mozart, Dvorak, Vivaldi. Now all these people either spent time, these composers spent time in Prague or actually lived there. Beethoven, Strauss, Tchaikovsky, and Chopin. So we were impressed with that you were walking the streets of these great composers actually spend time with.
And then we went in the square. We had beer, we had espresso, nut roll, croissant, chocolate cake, and then you just sat under the linden trees and just watched the world go by. I like that. And then somebody walked by and played some music, sometimes some gypsies with some violin. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I really like that. That was beautiful.
Great job, great job. Prague is a beautiful city. We do have a cathedral in Prague. So here you have the famous Charles Bridge. Charles Bridge is like the heart of this capital city. It was built right after the Reformation and these statues on the Charles Bridge are all saints. And one of the saints is Saint John Nepomuceno. And I have a great devotion to Saint John Nepomuceno. He was a Jesuit, not because of that, but he was a confessor. And the story goes that the king, the emperor, he wanted Saint John to break the seal of confession so that he can tell him what his wife was doing, the queen. And Saint John refused. So what they did, they brought him to this bridge. After they'd beaten him, tortured him, they cut his tongue off, and they throw him off this bridge. And there on that bridge is his statue, the spot where it happened, and he's the patron saint of confessors. Here we are in the Staromestské náměstí, and look at these beautiful churches. I mean, they're magnificent, but there is a lack of faith, like Eugene and Bernadette were saying, a lack of faith in the Czech Republic. We're doing okay. We're doing okay, Byzantine Catholics. We have a cathedral, we have a bishop there. Father Basil, who's serving as the rector of that cathedral, he told me that on a Sunday, approximately they have 2,000 faithful in church. They have several liturgies, but they're immigrants from Ukraine, Poland, that are working, Greek Catholics who are working in the Czech Republic because they can make money there. They work there, they go to church. He has over 1,000 baptisms per year. So it's a different situation with the Byzantine Catholics in Czech Republic. Here we are, that's the presidential palace, and this is St. Vitus Cathedral, the tallest, largest Gothic cathedral in the Czech Republic. Now we're going to move on. We were there only for 3 nights, but honestly, I recommend Prague as a destination in the future to visit in the Czech Republic. Afterwards, we got to the Václav Havel airport, and we made it to Slovakia. We were living in Prešov, which is eastern Slovakia. Right in the middle between Poland and Hungary in Slovakia is Prešov. Prešov is the heart of the Byzantine Catholic Church in Slovakia. They're celebrating their 200th anniversary of when the eparchy, Greek Catholic, Byzantine Catholic eparchy was established. Slovakia, landlocked country in Central Europe, beautiful mountains, the High Tatra Mountains. It's bordered by Poland to the north, Ukraine to the east, Czech Republic to the west, Hungary to the south, and Austria to the southwest. It's a small country, more or less around 5 million citizens in Slovakia. The largest city is Bratislava, right on the Danube River, and the second largest city is Košice in eastern Slovakia. Kind of rings the bell, U.S. Steel, that's where U.S. Steel is so far in Košice, and we did visit that. We did visit Košice on our trip. Here you see the Spiš Castle, with the Tatra Mountains in the background. Now, that was our first day, and I was watching the reaction of our people as we would always get up in the morning, early in the morning, 8 o'clock, 8:30, we got on the bus. We had a nice coach bus, great driver, and we had a wonderful, wonderful guide with us, Martina, a sweetheart, very nice lady. She was very helpful and very friendly. She did a great job with our group. And our first visit was Spiš region, the castle. Now, Braveheart, Mel Gibson, the movie, they almost made that movie here. They went with Ireland, but this was one of the places where Mel Gibson wanted to make the movie Braveheart. When you go into the Spiš region, you kind of feel like you're in Scotland, honestly, with the mountains, with the beauty, the highlands. It's a beautiful, beautiful countryside. And a lot of our people, they mention on the trip that this is like Western Pennsylvania. Now, that's why our people settled down here. Next. So speaking about the natural beauty of Slovakia, I want to invite the Kiss family to come up and talk about the natural beauty and their experience. Please, Jennifer. It's easy.
No problem. Thank you, Father, for arranging our trip. It was wonderful. It was not what I expected at all. I expected what you hear, old country, it's worn out, run down, everybody's old-fashioned. Very not true. Everything was beautiful, old, but well-kept and beautifully maintained. The beauty was unmatched. As you can see in this picture here, we are taking we took one of those boat cruises down the, I'm going to say it wrong,
Dunajec River.
Dunajec River, and it runs all the way down to the Baltic Sea. But we were on the boats for about an hour and a half, and it was amazing. We had a great guide on our boat, and he told us that if you fall out of the boat, the left side's Poland, the right side is Slovakia, so swim right. They didn't want to deal with any of the Polish. They didn't want to have to recover anybody from that side. So if you fell out, go over there. But the landscape was amazing, and you would see all these wonderful things, and then all of a sudden a strangely placed communist building, apartment building or something, would be put somewhere that you would just never expect it to be there, and it was unattractive and didn't blend in, but that's just how it was. So it was just a reminder of what the people there have gone through and how things were taken away from them, but they've recovered and they're making beautiful things over there again. The Spiš Castle, which he showed in the previous slide, you could go to the top of the tower and see in so many directions. It was amazing.
I'd like to add that my Slovak grandfather, who was my mother's father, lived with us for 20-some years till his passing, and he was from Košice, or that region. It's a small town off of that, but it was from there. So when we got there at 12 o'clock at night, I got off the plane because it was small enough, little prop plane, where I got done, I kissed the ground. For him, because I don't think he ever made it back when he came over here in the early 1900s. And the airport worker seemed to enjoy the fact that he saw somebody do that. The beauty of the country is unparalleled from anything I've ever seen. I told Father, I don't know how you ever came here from there, but if I could mention this, Father, I think this photograph,
The pilgrimage site.
that was where the Pope was,
The
right?
Pope was there, yep, go ahead.
So we went to this site where Pope John Paul was there. Father started telling us that, and I thought that was such a historic site and such a faithful site that I thought it was great that we try to get a photograph together, which wasn't the easiest thing because it was kind of sloped, but Father told us there were, I don't know how many people were behind us down the hill because the Pope was at the top where we were.
650,000 people came.
Yeah, so it was pretty amazing, but if you go to, I think Father might have put some pictures on our Facebook page. If you would look at this photograph more clearly and what was behind it, that's what the whole country looks like wherever you go. It's just unbelievably beautiful. So thank you, Father.
Thank you, Jennifer, Michael. The natural beauty is amazing. Next. The towns Michael mentioned. All these picturesque towns. Now, if you would have gone there during communism, it was all gray and ugly back in the day. It wasn't well taken care of. Now these towns, these historical towns, are protected by the United Nations, UNESCO. Everything has been redone. Beautiful colors. The churches, we were on top of the hill where Pope John Paul II won the Boccia. That's the Gothic cathedral in that town. The highest wooden carved Gothic altar created by Meister Pavel in that beautiful, and everywhere where we went, we had a special tour guide from that location, young people who spoke very, very good English. That's a new generation is coming up. Young people who are learning the language, young people who are traveling, and they were very polite, very helpful. It was just wonderful to be and see this new generation coming in. This one here is Bardejov. Bardejov is nearby. My mom went to high school here. It's the city center, as you can see, with the church. We have a parish in Bardejov. We visited that parish. It's protected by UNESCO. But let's talk about the medieval towns, and I'm going to invite Ann Hast to come up with Rachel to share their experience visiting these towns and how they felt when they saw these beautiful, picturesque buildings.
I'll wait for my co-presenter to get up here. Well, thank you, Father, again. And we just, there's times in your life when you realize that we're knitted together with a larger community. And, many of us have experienced stories from our grandparents and our parents. And when we walked into these medieval towns, there was this really powerful feeling of being connected with your roots in many ways. And to think that some of these towns have been in existence, the Prague Castle from the 9th century. In the United States, we feel as though anything 200 plus years is old. Well, here we were walking these streets where we felt a true, it was more than a symbolic connection with our past. But there's this larger community of Byzantine Catholics, and when you take a look at these medieval towns, how strong they are from ancient times to present times in their faith. As Father shows in this picture, the church is the center of the town. And these medieval buildings that have been beautifully preserved by the pride and the determination and just sheer scrappiness of the Slovak people are really well preserved and really kind of held out there in some esteem as a preservation of our history. And just as, Eugene and Bernie talked about, 2 years of communist occupation in the Czech Republic really undermined people living and fully being capable of living and breathing their faith. But when you get out into these medieval towns in Slovakia, The faith is vibrant here. And so the towns are vibrant. There's not this stamp of everything being the same, as Jen mentioned about the communist buildings out there. And like Kara did a run in the city and said they all look like Section 8 housing. Well, you couldn't ask for more uniqueness and diversity and a trueness and a pride in what our culture is. So I would say for our family, it ended up, it was a way to knit us back in terms of a larger family, a way to knit us back into honoring and understanding our heritage, in not only from our family, because I do have, I'm going to pass around, this is the papers that many of our ancestors came over on the boats with. And we found, this was my grandfather's baptismal certificate from, 1894? And think of the generations that lived in these beautiful towns that came and had the strength of faith to come and give that gift to us. So I'll pass that around because I think it's really very powerful of how faith and family and our Byzantine tradition really weaves us all together. And so, Rachel, I'll ask if there's anything you want to...
No, I feel the same exact way, and it was just amazing to think about the history that was there and everything that has survived over the years. And just having the chance to explore was really neat as well. We went into a little shop that had a blackie, is that the name of it? A blackie, so just to even taste and experience and see that side of history was really amazing.
And Rachel brought some of blackie for you guys to sample, so when we go to the back, we'll pass it down. They're big wafer cookies, and you just chip off a little bit, and many of you know what a blackie is all about. And then these are the cookies that we kind of experienced in these towns.
Thank you. So in Bardejov, in Starubovnia, we visited another castle, and also in Svidnik, that's the center of the Rusin culture in the northern part of the country. A lot of them have these open-air museums, so you can go back, centuries back, and see how the people lived. They have these wooden churches where now, since communism is gone, liturgies are taking place and different services. But you have the great opportunity also to see how people lived centuries ago. It's really worth going to visit these open-air museums to get an idea. What was it like when your ancestors were leaving this part of the world to begin a new chapter in their lives in the new world? Open-air museums are very well preserved in Slovakia. Now, the religious experience. We were on a pilgrimage, come on. So there was a religious experience. We had great food. I mean, do you agree with me? I mean, the food was wonderful. We had breakfast and dinner at the hotel, lunch, wherever we were, these different parts of the country. Lunch was, so we had all 3 meals was in this one price. And it was a great price to experience the food, the culture, the music. But there was also a religious experience. Here in this picture, on Sunday morning, at the Blessed Paul Peter Goydish Seminary in Prešov, we had the liturgy there at 9:30 a.m. And my mom and dad, they joined us for this liturgy. Dad was at the altar with us, celebrating. And this used to be an orphanage. Bishop Paul Goydish was the bishop, the man with the golden heart. And after the First World War, the Second World War, there were thousands. There were orphans in Slovakia. They lost both parents, and Blessed Paul Goydish would take care of them. This building was under the care of the Sister Servants of Mary Immaculate. Now it's the seminary for the 3 eparchies in Slovakia: Prešov, Košice, and Bratislava. Slovakia, the Greek Catholic Church, is a metropolitan province. We had the experience to be at the celebration, the 50th anniversary of the resurrection, the reestablishment of the Greek Catholic Church in Slovakia. As you know, after the Second World War, all Greek Catholics were declared illegal. The churches were overtaken. In 1968, with the Prague Spring Revolution, the Byzantine Catholic Church was allowed to come back. And as a symbol of this resurrection, we witnessed the dedication of this cross where the old seminary used to be. This is our hotel where we stayed, so we were very close. So talking about the religious experience, I want to invite Bob Hast and Susan to come and tell us how they felt when they saw the churches, when they witnessed the faith of our people in Slovakia.
Okay, well, Susan's coming up, I'll start. And I do want to say thank you for the Pilgrims Boot Camp. Really appreciate it. I'll take the blame for the Rome trip. Mike takes the blame for this trip. Thank you very much. Part of that too was, just like Father said, there was a real pilgrimage, and Father brought it in subtly, but always. When we were at the anniversary, when we got up at 5:50 to go to church for birthdays, and I learned some of the responses that now I can say, and those kind of things. So every place we went, we could think about the ancestry, something that I thought wasn't going to come off, but through his efforts and Ann's, we got to see relatives. There were donors that had the Bodmer name on the back of the icon, so, I mean, that was kind of impressive too. And, like I say, anytime you're going someplace, I think I got at least 6 takers.
Hi, I'm Susie. I didn't know anyone going into this trip, and I was never felt more welcome than I have with any group. So thank you for allowing me to come. So when we would go to all of the different churches, they were gorgeous from every single one. In these little villages, they were decorated and ornate. And then you would go to the wooden churches, and it was rustic, but the people spent so much time creating the churches. It was beautiful. I brought a couple of pictures of them. And also, in every church that we went into, everybody sang. You started the singing, and there was chanting, and it was ancient, and it was really beautiful. The other thing that I did when I went on my family trip, I went to a village, Pakacho. And at that village, they have pilgrimages every year. There was a miracle that occurred in 1670 where the Turks came in and they were trying to take over the village. And the icon was crying. And the villagers were all in the church trying to be protected. And then when the Turks came in, one of them stabbed the icon and it cried profusely. So when I went to the village to visit, they presented me with the icon, and I brought that. So I just wanted to show that to you.
One thing I did forget was Father invited us into his home. That was nice. I mean, to see his dad get choked up at the end of the services, to eat dinner with them, and Rachel and I were going through all the pictures, and you could just see it in the pictures. So, thank you.
I also was on a Carpatho-Rusin tour in Pittsburgh, and they said one of the most authentic places to see the Slovak churches, it's in St. Michael's in Rankin. It's a Byzantine Orthodox church now, but it's on 3rd Street in Rankin, and it looked like a lot of the buildings that we saw. So if you want to see that, go to Rankin.
So we have one here in Pittsburgh. Bob mentioned getting up early for liturgy. Here's the hotel. Right behind the hotel, there's the Cathedral of St. John's. And they do have an early liturgy for the faithful at 5:45, and people are there praying. At the cathedral, they have 2 morning liturgies and 1 evening liturgy at the cathedral. Now, visiting our Byzantine Catholic Church, that religious experience, when we went to Košice, we were met by Bishop Milan Chautur. He's the Byzantine Catholic bishop in Košice. And then our second visit was Archbishop Jan Babjak at the Historical Center in Prešov, right across the street from our hotel. And we were amazed. I mean, I couldn't keep up with this guy translating. He's like a firecracker. He keeps on going and going and going. I'm looking for the words, But he was amazing, explaining to us the different ministries they have now in Slovakia. One of them is even to the gypsies. A ministry to the gypsies to keep them close to the church, to the faith. So amazing ministries, amazing work that they're doing now in Slovakia. But here, what's important are family visits. Family visits. Now, how many of you went for a family visit? Raise your hands. For about half a year, more or less, since I announced this pilgrimage, you guys were looking for your relatives. Some of you have been in touch with your relatives, thank God. But some of you have never been over there, like the Hast family. They had some documents, but they really didn't know where to go. So the months before this pilgrimage, we were able to get in touch with the villages, with the local priests. We did that research in finding your family roots. And I want to begin with Michelle D'Angelo. Michelle actually went to Poland. As you know, the villages where Michelle's family comes from are part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And after Michelle, Cindy, if you want to come up, and the Timkos, if you want to come up and get ready. Here is the parish church in Leluchov, the wooded one. And here's Michelle's experience.
First of all four of my grandparents came from the same neighboring village. And I knew that because the past 20 years I've done a lot of research on my genealogy. And I knew the churches they were baptized in and everything. So the two towns, little villages, were Leluchov, am I pronouncing that? Leluchov, and Dubny. Father was so kind and wonderful and generous in arranging Father Jan to come along and be my guide, and his daughter Dominika to be the translator. They were fabulous, and thank you, Father, for that. It couldn't have happened without him. So they picked me up, and we went to the first village, and I really did not have a lot of expectations. I thought, I'll see what I can find. So I go there, and I find the church that my grandmother and grandfather were baptized in. It's open, thank heavens, and the church historian is there. Now, what are the chances that 1 hour that I was there was open, the church historian is there? So, through the translations, we look around, and we go in back of the iconostasis, and in back of there is a plaque that is dated, get it out to read the exact wording. The translation is, for this icon in the year 1873 gave the donation Alexander Krynicki and his wife Elena. They were my relatives. The icon is still there with the translation in the back. Well, I was just over the moon. I was so excited. So the best part was yet to come. We walked through the old graveyard, found some stones and such. So we go to the next neighboring villages, and they were about 1 kilometer apart. Now I knew why all four of my grandparents knew each other. Because it was walkable, and when they came over here to the United States, they bought houses next to each other, and my mom and dad got married. So, we go to the next village, and Father Jan is driving the car down the little country road, and he sees a man walking, and he stops. And he stops and rolls down the window and says, do you know any Zadowskis, Zelesteks, Krynicki? He said, I'm a Krynicki. Okay, now it is really getting incredible. So he says, come to my father's house, come to my father's house. So we go. Sure enough, I had all my genealogy with me. We figured out that my grandfather and his uncle were brothers. So his name is Peter Kernicki, and we took pictures. I found my grandfather and great-grandfather's house that is still standing. We went and took pictures, and it could not go in. The present owners were not home. But he also went and pulled out an old hand-drawn map from the 1800s. And on this map, of course it's hand-drawn, and it has just little squares drawn for homes and a cross for the church in the village. And sure enough, next to two of the houses, three actually, are my grandparents' name and my other relatives. So I took a picture of it, and it was just an absolutely incredible day. And I knew my mom and dad would be so happy. And Father knows I cried all afternoon.
Now we move on. One of the visits, Cindy went to Ruska Poruba. Here I have a picture of Ruska Poruba, but just to give you an idea of what the villages look like in that part of the world. Now Cindy, besides Ruska Poruba, she went to other villages also in the northeastern part of Slovakia.
Thank you, Father. Well, these hills were really calling me because, like Michelle, all four of my grandparents came from this region. They were all Carpatho-Rusin and all Byzantine, so I simply had to go to some of these villages. Now, my primary goal was to come back with pictures of me actually finding my great-grandparents' gravesite. I wanted to stand on their gravesite and tell them I've come back, I've made it full circle. That didn't happen. One of my learnings from this village was, and I just did not fully understand or appreciate the effect that the war had on this country. I think we're all well aware about how the Germans tried to obliterate Poland. What I hadn't fully appreciated, because the villages I went to were very close to the Polish border, northeast, very, very close to Poland, that many of these sites in the hills where our ancestors lived were destroyed as well. So a church that I had hoped to see was no longer there. The grave sites of some of my great-grandparents, a priest pointed out to an empty field and said, I can guarantee your grandparents are there, but of course it had been bombed during the war. So I came back with a much greater appreciation of what our people had gone through. And the reality is that I won't be able to trace everything that I had hoped. Nevertheless, I was fortunate enough to meet second cousins on both my mother's side and my father's side. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite tiny little memories is when I met one of my second cousins. Her name was Valentina. And when I went to her home, which is a two-story, very lovely two-story home in Humane, she and her husband greeted me, and they had a huge American flag hanging from their balcony to welcome me. And considering the state of current events, I thought that was brave and quite lovely of them to do that, so I appreciated that. Valentina and her husband, Mikko, took me first to a village called Olka. And Olka, really a village, it's 300 people, and there are actually 2 churches in Olka, 2 Byzantine churches in Olka. So Valentina had actually contacted the priest a couple of weeks ahead of time and said, hey, we'll be coming, we're bringing an American cousin, can you open the churches for us? So we drive to Olka, and thank goodness Valentina speaks multiple languages because she was the translator. I could not speak Slovak or Russian, and the priest could not speak English. So my cousin Valentina said, I'll remind the priest who you are and why you're here, and you're with a church group, is that okay? I said, certainly.
So blah, 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 she's telling the priestess. The next thing I know, the priest is going, Valerian, Valerian. He knows Father Val, and he knows Father Val's father. So I'm in the middle of nowhere, and they know Father and Valerian. So I would just say, and you've seen many pictures like this, in this little tiny village, and it's cows and chickens, and these people are not wealthy. 300 people, and I went into the first church and saw the icon screen, and I just burst into tears because it's completely gorgeous. The other church was exactly the same way, and I don't know how they do it because they have no money, they have nothing. There was no phones, there was no cell signal in these mountains, there was nothing, and yet their churches remain just complete places of beauty. I would tell you the next village I went to, I experienced exactly the same thing. And by the way, to Michelle's point, that village is only 4 miles from the first one. So I suspect that my grandparents' families knew each other as well. And my one cousin offered to take me on the mushroom path over the mountain that connects the 2 villages. I told her I'll do that next time. I didn't do that. So I guess what I would conclude by saying is that for me the trip was so meaningful because it helped me not only recognize my roots, but it was Anne who talked about being tied. We are absolutely connected to the past. And I felt that with my cousins. They are as eager to find out about the American branch as I am about the European branch of the family. And even though it's only been 100 years between that connection, it's amazing how much we've lost, how much knowledge we've lost. So we have quite a bit of work to do to connect that.
Cindy,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about, even though the people aren't very wealthy, what their demeanor is, how, like they're basically always hospitality.
Hospitality.
Yeah.
Pretty much what you would expect. Now, I think we're going to have probably another drinking story come up. So I won't ruin that, but let's just say that no matter where I went, I was barely in the door, and as you might expect, the table got covered with anything that was in the cupboard. Everything was out for me, and the man of the house would bring these little glasses out and put them in front of me. And because I was a female American cousin, they didn't know what to expect. So they'd put the glass in front of me and wait for me to nod. And then we started. So I probably drank more shots in 2 days than I have in 2 years. But everybody was absolutely, it's a very welcoming community, a very welcoming people, is what I would tell you. So I'm very proud to be descendant from that.
Thank you. So we have people going to today's Poland, northeastern Slovakia, but we also have the Titko family. They went across the border into Ukraine. And Michael, Susan, and their kids, a band was waiting for them. And we were worried. It was after midnight. They're not back yet. And then in the morning, I found him during breakfast. So go ahead.
Thank you, Father. Yes, and as everybody said, thank you for your help. This idea hatched almost a year ago. We decided we're going to go on this trip. We come to Mass, and we said, Father, we think we want to do this. We want to go on the trip. We want to go to Ukraine. Oh, good. Father Ivan's here. He is a priest in Uzhhorod. You need to talk to him, because that's where Michael's family is, from a village outside of Uzhhorod. So in one way, it was like divine providence, because now we knew somebody. Michael, his family had always kept in contact with family in Sarania, but it was difficult. We lost track, so it was great to have him. However, we learned throughout the year of planning, communication and email between was really challenging. So Father made phone calls and really helped us out, and to the point where at service Sunday morning, and he said, I think I have an email for you. We didn't really know what the connection was going to be, and we found out that a great man was coming for us at 11:30 that morning, and there we go, off on our trip. So we really had to be quite patient and trust everybody, and we just had an unbelievable time. And 2 hours to get over to Adrad through the border, and lots of
Ukraine is not part of the European Union, so they really keep it strict there, crossing from the European Union to Ukraine.
Definitely, and we get delivered to this house, and we get welcomed by this very jovial man, and we're not really sure what's going on. We tried to be as relaxed as we could be, right? And we get ushered into this house, and then we see Michael's cousin, and it looks very much like his grandmother's side of the family, and we sit down at this table. And to Cindy's point and Michelle's, I mean, the hospitality was unbelievable. Course after course, and Father had warned us, and some of us heeded it better than others, about, now we get to the nuts and bolts, right? About the drinking, and I learned choo-choo, which is a little, yeah, but somebody didn't, and so we had this full meal and experience, and then they load us into vans, and off we go, and we go down this road, and we see the sign for Serenia, and get out, and taking pictures where his grandmother emigrated from, and all of these wonderful things, and we load back in the van, and we're going to keep moving down the road, and we stop at this place. Again, we're just kind of going along with the flow, and we jump out of the van, and this very nice lady walks out, and they're talking, and we don't know what's going on, and Father Ivan had joined us. He was there, right? Yeah, he had joined us. He was delayed a little bit. He had joined us at the time, and we don't know what's happening. And we go in, and there was a great barber, and I remember I got stung by a wasp. So I buzzed, and then I got stung, and so like those moments, like how did I get here, right? And then I'm gonna let Michael take over.
Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of the drinking. We did not heed and of course every house we stopped at, everybody had something to offer, and this house we went to,
It wasn't planned either.
no, and we stopped and this man came out, and we all had, and I have some pictures, I'll pass this around, and we all sort of did a double take because, as our girls call him, Pappy 2.0, because he is the spitting image of my dad, and it was his first cousin. And we had never met them. None of these, other than Father Ivan, no one spoke English, and one other person, so we were, also hampered by the translations. But the connection was definitely there. I mean, just as everybody said, I mean, you could see the way the family looked, how they acted. There's pictures there of his wine cellar, fruit cellar, looks just like my dad's. Again, they had never seen each other, never connected. And so I showed my dad, he's 93, so he was able to see all these pictures and just could not believe that we were able to reconnect with the family. And so we went and sampled his wine and sampled some of his brandy and some food there. And then we got back in and drove maybe, 50 feet and got out again. And we went and saw where my grandmother grew up and met other relatives that are living on that same property where they had food and brandy and wine and homemade vodka. And so, you don't, as soon as the glass is empty, they fill it. So you don't drink it all at once, I learned. The next day. As Bernadette said, don't light a match around him because it was something. But it was an amazing experience to see the land where they came from, to meet all these relatives. Now Sue's friends with them on Facebook. So
Facebook friends.
So we were able to reconnect with everybody and connect with the family that we really just knew very little about other than some names and some information about them.
Thank you. We also experienced a culture, okay? We're in this town of Badeo, the one, where my mom went to high school. And they had this stage in the middle of the city center with music playing, with people singing, dressed in national costumes, And then we also went to Poland, across the border, so that everybody can experience an open air market. It was a huge place, and a lot of good shopping going on. But on the way back, we stopped in the town of Svidnik, which used to be a village, now it's a small town, 2 Greek Catholic churches, 1 Orthodox, 1 Roman Catholic. Remember where my sister went to school, to high school, and there's a plaque there, Father Val's sister, went to school there. So, and they have a beautiful museum. I was just amazed. Yeah, I was just amazed from Poland.
This is from Schwitnik, right?
From Svitnik? From Poland, yeah, this purse that Rachel has with all embroidery. And what's amazing, this museum, from the outside it looks like nothing. You walk in there, there's 3 floors. They do a good job keeping the museums open. They do have good funding from the government for that purpose. And I'm praying that as a church here in America, we can open up a museum of our Byzantine Catholic Church, because we have a history here. We have to work on that. So when we walked in, we were welcomed by these 2 ladies singing beautiful hymns. And you could just imagine, half of the crew was in tears, crying, because it was beautiful. They welcomed us with homemade pierogi, cheese, and they gave us a wonderful tour. And the children got a chance, you'll see in the next picture, the children had the opportunity, Emily? The children we had a workshop for them, how to make pisanki, and it was just wonderful to experience and to see that museum in Svitnik. Now I'm going to call upon our younger people, those who wish to say a few words about their experience, being that you guys are, what would be the 4th generation here? The 4th generation in our country. So here in this picture you see the workshop. Here are the kids. When we were, there's Tyler, Jessica, and Hannah. When we were in the mountains on that river, it was raining, and it's a cute picture of them going down the river afterwards. So young people, come up, and if you want to tell us about your experience in Slovakia.
So fathers asked to hear about the pilgrimage from the perspective of the youngest pilgrims. I think a lot of us were surprised to see the way our culture is represented in Slovakia. Here at home, I don't think we see our Byzantine or Slovakian culture much outside of church. But in Slovakia, we didn't just see our culture in church. We passed people like us on the streets or in the hotel or in the tourist spots. And it was really cool for us younger pilgrims who aren't really growing up in a religion-focused era here in the United States, to see that there are more people than we think that live life the way that we do and praise God like we do. I do want to point out a story that I know my dad likes a lot. We were walking through Levocha, is that how you say it? And we were just walking down the street. We had a couple free minutes, and we heard we heard this music, and we recognized it as traditional Slovakian music. And we're looking around like, where is this coming from? We walked up to this restaurant, a traditional restaurant with pierogies on the menu, and we look in, it was an empty restaurant. It was around lunchtime. And there was just 3 or 4 people in there with accordions and and just singing. Just sitting there singing to themselves. It was just the 4 of them, just a band. And so we were peering in the window, and they waved us in and said, "Come on in," which kind of echoes what everybody else said about the hospitality. They said, "Come on in." So we walked in, and we just stood there and appreciated the music that they were playing in there. And it was gorgeous. So we appreciated it. We clapped for them when they finished their songs or whatever. And we said, "Okay, we have to go." So we walked outside. We were trying to wave people down from the rest of the group to say, "Hey, come listen to their music." And while we were standing out there, the band actually came outside onto the street and just stood there and played for us for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. And it was gorgeous. And all these school children passed by, and they stopped to dance with us. And yeah, it was a really cool moment. So echoing what they said about tying us back to our culture, I got a t-shirt over in Bardeo that said, I think I don't want to butcher the translation, but something along the lines of like, I've gone back to my roots and now I'm planting my own. So.
Emily mentioned the children and the teacher who was there. Her family, she has family in Butler. Yeah, the teacher, Levocha, has family in Butler, Pennsylvania. I was like, wow, how small the world. Anyone else from the young people to talk about their experience? Juliana? So what did you like in Slovakia?
Tell us.
Well, it was really fun because, like, well, all the architecture on the buildings were, like, very beautiful and unique, and you, like, don't really see that back here in the United States. And there's also lots of fun things we got to do, like the boat ride, and, like, the people on the boat would, like, start singing songs and stuff.
So I want to thank you all for being here. It was a great experience. Some of you already came up to me and said, Father, where are we going next? I don't know, we'll see. But here it says, Do widzenia in Slovak, it's bohom, typical Rusin. Do widzenia means until next time. And here we are as a group, our final evening in Prešov at the hotel. And here's the airplane that you guys took. All right. The James Bond experience. But we all had a great time, and it's a blessing for our parish family to share this experience with you, that we continue to live out our faith like they do back in the old country, and we do in the new country. God bless.